What a surprising turnout. I didn't expect this many people, and some very familiar and also some strange faces. There's a few faces that I've known from my travels up and down Smith Street, Gertrude Street, Brunswick Street. I was born January the 15th, 1962. The gentleman that had delivered me was an ambulance driver named Mr. John Bogey. Dad had to run up from down the scrub from the shack we'd lived in to get the ambulance to get to the nearest phone, and Mr. Bogey had to pull over at the side of the road and in one of the side streets on the way to the hospital, and he delivered me. Robinvale, a very unique little community up on a very shallow, very bend of the river. The mission that I was brought up on, it was called Munatunga, which means people of many colours or hill of many colours. And the mission itself, it was set up about 1960. I don't know if any one of you have heard of Rumballara up Shepparton Way. Rumballara and Munatunga were known as transitional estate reserve areas to round up the last of the fringe dwellers, those folks that was born into that grey area. Not full-blooded, but all mixed breeds, mongrel-bred bastards. I'm proud to be called a bastard. I think I'm the only one out of the family that was born out before Mum and Dad was married, and it was a double wedding, a unique wedding in a little soldier settlement. Robinvale is a soldier settlement. It's a young town in the sense that it was set up, I think, just after the First World War. Old Homestead up there calls Robbinswood, who was named after a World War I hero, Robin Cuttle. 30 acres of land, returned soldiers. My great-grandmother, Caroline Malcolm Ferguson Morgan, was born Jar Jar Run, Eagle Country, up around Bendigo. And the Bat, and the Batman. She was moved on. She ended up down Melbourne and ended up at Corranderk, and she was a prolific letter writer to the governments, begging, pleading for the basics for daily survival. After Corranderk, and they used to walk in from out Corranderk, out Hillsville Way, to petition the governments to get medical aid, etc., etc. And there's two saints, if any statues that's to be put up to any non-Aboriginal people, Mr. and Mrs. Green. They were real people. Corranderk was an award-winning hop farm, vegetables and etc. And because a lot of the farmers, being jealous and that, so they kicked up a stink. A lot of the prominent people had kicked up a stink, and it was parcelled out and divided on, and what you've got left is out there. My great-grandmother is buried out there. That's on my father's side. My grandmum's side, my mum's side. She was born in Bendigo, same country. My mum's Yorta, Jar Jar Run. My dad, Muddy. His mob was rounded up from around the McDonnell Ranges way. Put on a place called Point Pearce Mission over in South Australia, and from there a lot of the great-grandfolks had made their way by canoe, by paddle boat, foot, bicycle, horse and dray to and reached places like Wentworth, Mildura, Berry, Renmark, all the way to Swanhill, Balleranal, Deniliquin, right up to Albury. One of my great-grandfolks had paddled a dugout canoe from South Australia, hung a left up the Murrumbidgee River and sank the canoe at the point down at the mission at Balleranal Mission. It's still there to this very day, loaded with rocks and clay and dirt, and sunk it. Caroline Malcolm Ferguson Morgan, my grandfather was born in Cobar after they was dispersed. Dispersed is another euphemism for making it hard for the black people to survive, if not outright genocide, by denying us our basic human rights at the time and to this very day. My mum, she was a drover most of her young life, a champion, gymkhana, barrel races, etc., drove sheep over the biggest part of New South Wales. She was born Chuka, Yorta. Between my mum and dad's territories extends from the McDonnell Ranges to Melbourne, biggest part of New South Wales. That's all my mum and dad's countries and their mums and dad's countries and their mums and dad's countries before that. Funny situation when native title come out and we had to prove ourselves. All I ever wanted with people who'd asked me, oh, come along, Dad, man. All I want is the effing right to freely travel right of way throughout my mum and dad's countries and their mums and dad's countries and their mums and dad's countries, keep up the connection to the land and the peoples. But I did not bring my welfare records, my stolen generation. We wasn't stolen, it was just deliberately taken away because old folks had to abide by the rules and regulations. It was part of the process of assimilation. The ones who said yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir, well, they got everything. The ones who did question the powers that be, the authority, well, they was, my grandmother, Dad's mum was the last person. She was a domestic at Hadder Lake up between Swanhill and Balleranal. She was a domestic servant when she was 12, 13 years old. She was the last one to ever move off the mission. She did not want to move into town. She did not want a thing. Cooked the best dampers, oh wow. A very hard life. Aboriginals lived hard lives no matter how much privilege we've got these days. People call me lucky. Luck is not in my vocabulary. Anyway, grew up. I was born a cripple. Couldn't walk until I was 4 or 5 years old. I was born with severe scoliosis of the lower hip back. Cried a lot because of the pain. Back in those days, we haven't got the marvellous technology we've got these days. And I couldn't say why I cried a lot and that. I was a tit baby, which is common in Aboriginal society. I was on the breast for 4 or 5 years old, which is very common even to this day. But you couldn't with all the chemicals that the mothers got in the body through processed products. I said to myself I wasn't going to get political or have a rant and rave. It's about me, what makes me, how I come to be down on the streets of Fitzroy. And I've been down here on and off for 42, 43 odd years. My mum moved down this way after her and Dad separated and parted and went their own ways. And because, Aboriginal people, I'm matriarchal, I follow the matriarchal line. of Aboriginal traditional and culture. The women have got the power in Aboriginal society. And it's because I've just had a quick browse through looking at the titles of the books of, a lot of them are nowadays are written by Aboriginal authors rather than Western white authors, academics, etc., etc. Anyway, I was born a cripple. I'm totally supposed to have a hearing implant in my left ear. A couple of years ago, hip replacement coming up in about 3 years. I'm battery operated. 1995, I had a massive heart attack 3 times, and I found out my body can't break down the cholesterol that we eat in our tucker or what we produce. And this has got a built-in defibrillator. Yes. And it's gone off once, the first model. This is my second model. And the batteries last 10 years. Well, you've got to put your phone on, and that don't last for an hour or two. Especially if you're on TikTok. 2012. Anyway, between when I found out, I was born a cripple and that, and the doctors and that, come down to Royal Children with the welfare and either mum or dad, and come down there. Lovely top gentleman, Mr. Doig, I always remember him. He reminded me of Sir Edward Wittery Dunlop in his demeanour. If you know who Sir Edward Wittery Dunlop is. I love history, I love reading and writing. Because I was born a cripple, my mum, Auntie Barb Egan, who was my oldest sister, my first cousin, Dad's oldest sister's oldest daughter, she just not long thing, and this is what she'd passed away last year. And this is a little stick, and I always carry this around, and it helps me not bite my tongue or chew the inside of my lip when I'm holding my tongue, when I'm not liking what I'm hearing. Black, white, or brindle, young, old, male or female. I cannot stand injustice. Anyway, because I was born a cripple and I couldn't mix it and keep up with the other kids, I was on a blanket with the books. By the time I was 2 years old, Auntie Barb Egan, my mother, and other sister girls, me cousins, that, I was reading and writing by the time I was 2 years old. Okay. I've got a good retention of memory of happenings and what I've read and what I've heard and what I've seen. There were 17 brothers and sisters. Dad had one before he met Mum. My mum had 3 before she met Dad. They got together, married. I was born January 15th, 1962. Mum and Dad was married February 14th, 1962. Wow. What's a significant... now, everyone knows February the 14th. Can anyone tell what's February? Huh? Valentine. February the 14th. What do people celebrate every February the 14th? Captain Cook, yeah. And also Valentine's Day. Well, February the 14th, that's when Captain Cook got an axe in his head. I do that every Valentine's Day. Anyway, I'll just get over with a brief. There's so much I want to say, and I know an hour is not more than enough. But anyway, I was born in Robinvale, went through the mill, ended up in welfare, and a lot of folks, there was these foster holiday home programs And a lot of those folks who went away on holidays during Easter or holiday times, school holiday times, a lot of them folks never come back. My mum and dad, they fought and they'd bitched and that, and we was in dribs and drabs. I was still a ward of the state until I was 18 years old, and that was 1980. I was born 1962. I'm 62 now. Like I said, there were 17 brothers and sisters, and I've got 10 children, 38 grandchildren, 15 great-grandchildren. Do I look like it? Do I look like I'm fucking 62? I watch what I eat. I watch what I drink. Otherwise I know what I'm drinking and eating. 2012, after all the doctors and that, I had this arm broken twice. Once off a monkey bar, once falling out of a tree, and the doctor didn't set my arm properly, so he had to re-break it. And he had to come in off the golf course, drunk as a monkey. Okay? A little town, Robinvale, best little fishing hole on the Murray River. Good place to visit, but you don't want to live there. It's one of the most multicultural little towns in Australia. There's, last count, there was about 50 odd, 3, 4 different nationalities. It's a great pick and fruit growing area. A lot of experimentation, that's what I call it. The Munatunga was called Transitional Estate Reserve. It was set up specifically for the purpose of rounding up the people, us folks that was in that grey area near there or fully there. And part of the process of assimilation, to me, the assimilation is genocide in slow motion, where they give us the tools to put ourselves out of our misery. And because I learned to read and write, a lot of my the old Phantom comics, the Donald Ducks and the Beagle Boys and whatnot. My grandmother had one of the first televisions on the mission. It was a big occasion. Her name was Emily Kirby. It was a big occasion. I had the TV on the stand there over in the corner, and all those little folks sitting in the front next, the big kids, and then grannies and grand folks and other folks standing up, looking in through the window and what little doily with a little posy of flowers on top, and biggest feed going, dampers and scones and kangaroo and chops and sausages, the old ubiquitous Aussie barbecue and sausages. She switched the TV on and there was this bit of a crackling bang noise, and we all looked, everyone. And this picture come on the screen, we all looked, and then it went blank again, and there's a little white dot in the middle of the screen, expanding and spanning, and everything came. You know what the fucking first show I've ever seen on the TV? It was a circle like this and 2 circles. Fucking Disneyland. 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 We was taken in and out of homes from when we was about 7, 8 years old. I didn't get out until I was 15, 16, yet still a ward of the state when I did finish school. And by this time, year 10, St Joe's Catholics, I had my first child, Josephine. She's 44, she'll be 45 in May. She's a lawyer, psychologist and a teacher. She won the Blake Dawson Waldron Prize for Academic Excellence in Law. My other daughter up Sydney there got an award up Armidale Way for a recycling business that they'd got going. And I'm very proud of my kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. One of my mother kids are very straight edge, or most of them are. One mob of the other daughter's kids been in our jail, and I'm very proud of that fact, that they've been in our jail. My old man, a lot of old folks, and it still happens to this very day, play the jackie when the need arises. Yes, sir. No, sir. 3 bags full, sir. You know what I mean? To get what you want. If you speak out or demand, no, you won't. You're put back to the back of the line. That's always been the case with Aboriginal peoples. You only got to read Bennelong. If you want a bit more of a real history, read Bryce Courtney's An Improbable History of Australia. That's more of a truer history of what happened up Sydney. I've had my jaw busted. I've lost count of being assaulted by the police. I know the times I was done over in orphanages and a lot of folks. There was a little bit more material that I wanted to bring along, but it's redacted. Redacted. I want to tell the whole fucking world what we've continuously gone through and still continue, but it's a very subtle softness these days. Anyway, somehow or other I've got to here where I am sitting this purple. Purple's a sign of royalty. A couple of me old mateys, oh, you're the fucking king of Smith Street. People call me an elder. Call me a leader. No Aboriginal society's ever taken a vote and think, oh, let's make him an elder or make him a leader. I don't know what I've achieved other than surviving that what we put up with daily. Just before the COVID situation had come along, I was reading this report. I come across this report by the Australian National University, Sydney University, in Thingo 4 University survey report to come out, and the other two was Harvard and Yale, all 3 prestigious university, except ANU, that's a pretty new university. They had surveyed 11,000 people or over 10 years, or 10,000 people over 11 years. And it worked out 3 out of 4 Australians, does not matter their heritage, ethnicity, their profession, their religiosity, whatever. 3 out of 4. By the way, I'm not Australian. Australians are racially biased, prejudiced against Aboriginal people. Top of the list, Caucasians. Next to, almost equally level, Southwest Asians, not Middle Eastern Asians, not Southeast Asians, and Sudanese. The younger generation of Sudanese. All the rest of them they can take pick. Oh, we come last. We're not as racially prejudiced, yeah. But that's the point is. And it goes on to say that's why we don't have to be telepathic. Did you know that before white man come along, how many senses have yous got? 5. Blackfellas had 7. That's a topic for another evening. 7 senses. Yous think about what are the other 2. I'm sure looking at these, the faces, your folks' faces, and I know you've all done a bit of esoterical studies, astrology, all this trying to find spirit. When white man come along, we weren't religious people, we were spiritual people, and still are. I don't know what drives us. I call myself a parky, Smith Street parky. I go and park myself wherever I want to park my ass. Years ago there was a deadly little institution called Parkies Incorporated. Got funding, to go and help out the desperados, shelter feeds and whatnot, and get transportation to pick them up, help alleviate the constabulary's business of picking up drunken blacks and taking them up a side street and give them a bit of a fucking buff in the head and take them back to the cells here and give them a bit more of a buff in the head and that. Still happens? No, it doesn't. Not here in Fitzroy or Richmond or Collingwood, because of what I've contributed to the community by being a loudmouth and speaking up. I don't get paid for what I do. It's out of my own pocket what I make on the street here. This is my everyday existence. I go along when I need a bit of a thing. I don't sit there and cold bite, looking up with sad droopy eyes and laying the guilt trip on. And I'll defend my people's rights to do that. Use ours. Here's a funny, strange situation. When this COVID situation come up, something niggled me, something in my mind, and I couldn't shake it or whatever. Don't. I'm hearing my mother's voice. If I close my eyes, I can see my mother's face, I can see my dad. I can see all my ancestors that I... You know what I mean? I can hear their voices. No one's talking in my head, but you've got memory of voice, just like you've got memory of taste. If you taste something, I've tasted that something. Memory of smell if you smell something. Memory of sound, memory of voice, memory of image. No one talks in my head. I'm not hearing voices in my head. I'm questioning myself with what I read in the papers. I love reading. My favourite subject, early reading, was Asimov, Ireland, Philip Dick. Amazing, amazing. Arthur C. Clarke. I'm living what I read about. Back to the Future. Back to the Future, yeah, let me say. Black fellas were primitive, stone axes and things. No, every implement that was utilised by Aboriginal people were once made of metals. Concrete, glass, steel, and very rare metals that's hard to find. We've lived through ice ages. We've lived through volcanic changes. We was here when that one big land mass was divided up, and we've got the continents we have today. The oldest continuous story that's shared by all Aboriginal peoples from as far as Tasmania to the islands of Milagimbi, Tiwi Islands, Torres Strait, and it's shared by many cultures, and it's a very common theme of the 7 sisters in the Pleiades system. The Greeks have got an old Dreamtime story that parallels the story of how the Pleiades come into being and the Seven Sisters. I'm Crow. I chose Crow. My mum long-necked turtle, eagle hawk, and bat. Jar Jar Rung, Muddy Muddy, I'm Crow, Barking's way up around Lake Mungo and whatnot. And Crow's one of the oldest creation stories, along with Bunjil and the so-called rainbow serpent. Yes. So that is unchanged, and that's the commonality that we've got with our Odin, Norse mythology. He was flesh and blood. He was a warrior king. He was a priestly king. He left the steppes of Russia, and on the southern side of the Caucasus Ranges, he left from over there, made his way all the way through that part of Europe, Eurasia, and ended up Norway, Finland. He's buried on an island called Odin's Island. Yet somehow he's created everything. I've got no God. No Aboriginals got a God or gods. They are our creator ancestor beings. My mum, my dad is my creators. Their mums and dads are their creators. Okay? Technology, getting back to, okay, there's two remnants of a bygone era that we still utilise today. One of them is made up, might be with a piece of stone on the end of a long straightened out stick with a woomera, leverage. You throw a javelin, you throw it 50, 100 yards. You put a bit of a leverage, but boy, geez, you can chuck him 200 yards. Okay? Here's another thing, the returning boomerang, the most perfectly aerodynamic implement that ever existed, combines the four basic principles of aerodynamics, the physics of aerodynamics. The wing of an aeroplane, the rotors of a helicopter, gyrocopter, a frisbee. Returning boomerangs were used for hunting water game, keep the water on, duck down close to the water and swim away, because the sound of a returning boomerang is like a bird of prey whistling through the air. So they keep low and head for the reeds. Well, there's a mob of warriors there waiting in the reeds there for them to come in, and they just chuck the nets over them or grab them by the legs underwater. How simple is that? Gee, I'd like to see that animal right, lad, Laurie Levi. Why don't you promote doing it the whole way rather than go out boom, 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 boom? They call it sport. Killing sport. Anyway, there was a lot of abo hunts back in the day. Forrest Twiggy, everyone knows his great-grandfather, the neighbouring property owner there, some black fellas over that way knocked off a cow, fed him thing, organised the raiding party. Mr. Twiggy's great-grandfather he was all for it, but he didn't partake. Okay? Coppers knocking down a blackfella, give him a flogging in front of the street, in front of everyone, they just turn a blind eye. There was a Crown Sergeant who retired not long ago, I won't say the district or the whereabouts, but any of the young black kids, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, the older you got, the more heavier the punishment. Closed fist, kicks up the guts and that. Still happens to this very day, as I'm sitting here telling you this. retired Crown Sergeant, as crooked as they come, and see the history of the constabulary. Why? And one of my questions is of people, and I ask them, why hasn't no constabulary ever been charged with murder or manslaughter or aggravated assault leading to death? Not one. Not one. Not one. How many deaths in custody since the Royal Deaths in Custody report? I nearly broke down. A good friend, Larry Canoa, used to work with the Aboriginal Legal Service. Had come out to where I was living, out Snake Valley, up Ballarat there. My cousin, Rex Kirby, he was Rex Morgan, he was a cultural ranger. We surveyed all throughout central Victoria and rediscovered places that no one's ever come from. A lot of those areas you have to get special permission. I went through that because I love reading and condensing it out and putting it down into language so that everyone can understand into a condensed version of these 36 volumes. And how many has passed away? Over 550 and still counting, man, woman, child, Australia-wide. So something must be seriously wrong with Australia. All we ask for is justice, repatriation, return a little bit more of the land that we had to beg and borrow through native title, where we had to prove who we are, where we come from. Same as ATSIC. That was a bit of an institution where it was a bit of a political body where we had our representative from locals and that was a failure because it was based on the West system of Commonwealth forms of government and what we abide by. Then we got native title. By geez, didn't that open up a whole can of worms? John Howard and that, the old farmers chopping down scarred trees, ploughing, digging up rock formations, blowing up carvings there on rocks and stones. That tells the story of who we are, our very being. And what's got me, Australia must be the most dumbed down country on the fucking face of the earth. Paul Keaton said it's the arsehole of the world. I hope you was all good Aussie citizens and voted. All I wanted, can everyone put their hand up that voted in this referendum? Why? Why the fuck? Why? Why should I ask you's permission to vote for my Aboriginal spokesperson or representative in white government? We had to ask your permission. Can we elect our own representative, our own voice or our... Why? It should have been us black fellas vote amongst our black fellas, voting our black spokesman. But no, we had this basic, just that basic, and Albanese knew it because it's all tactical. Why should we vote not innocent people? No one's innocent, ignorant, because they choose to be ignorant. Why should... I'm not going to ask you or you or you or you, your permission, yes, no. What was it, over 70-odd% that we got no? Back in the referendum, citizens, an overwhelming yes response, we become citizens. It's got me fucked thinking about it. I'm not going to ask you who voted yes or who voted no. You don't give a stuff what you voted. But why should I, or any of us Aboriginal people that's here, and I'm glad there is a couple, and I'm glad there is. I knew it wouldn't have been a lot of black faces, because a lot of those black faces already heard what I've said, ranting and raving when I've got invited by a few, etc., etc. I didn't vote. A lot of my friends, non-Aboriginal friends, say, I'm going to vote yes. I said, why? Why vote? I'm going to sing a song, recite some poetry. People wondering how I try to stay as natural as possible. Eating the right ingredients. If I can't get the native tucker ingredients, I'll get something that's similar to it off the supermarket shelves or in the local corner shop or St Vinny's. I'm not going to sing no original songs because the more I think, and I don't want to bring myself in tears, luck's not in my vocabulary. I couldn't walk until I was 4 or 5 years old. My body can't break down the cholesterol that we produce, and so I've got to look after myself. I found out 2012 I thought I had a bit of an ulcer or gallstone or something. I went to the hospital and I just lived behind the hospital. I waited 12 years so I can get a place close to the hospital in the public transport, etc., etc. They took the x-rays and everything, and they come back and they all standing around, the doctor and the nurse, and they were looking at me and looking at one another, and they said, I said, so what's the go? And he said, you only got one kidney. No, I'll be fucked. How'd I get one kidney? I didn't donate no kidney. You got a horseshoe kidney, renal fusion, a super kidney they call it. And I'm thinking, all the welfare, all the time I was in that home, went to thing, all the x-rays and all the thing, and what? And they tick off all the body. He got good kidney, he got good liver, he got good net. 2012 I found out I was born with one kidney. A ward of the state. The first third of my fucking life. In governmental care. And yet, we've proven that, got all my welfare records off. Big fucking stack of them, weighs about 5 kilos. "14 years old, got out of the home, walking with my white mate. He's come back from fishing, cutting through the schoolyard on a weekend on a Sunday. The constabulary pulls up. What are you doing in the schoolyard? My 3 governor mateys standing there, all looking at me. I step forward, taking a shortcut. We're standing there with our dip tin that we use to catch shrimps, our fishing lines and that, taking a shortcut. Come here, reach over and busted my fucking jaw. I was 23 years old when I got that bastard back and broke his jaw. Took his baton off him, stripped his shirt off and belted him. Eye for an eye. My great-grandfather, Mum's grandfather. He was a white fellow named Bob Jones. He was a butcher man and had his fingers in a few pies up Bendigo at the turn of the other century there. Where I come from, Robinvale, a lot of the school mateys that I did know, between in and out of homes, 7 of them went on to become police. A few of them fought in the first Gulf War. a friend of the family, Dennis, white fella, he come back from Vietnam with a suitcase with all photos of the jungle, of everything. Wow. As soon as he got back from Vietnam, went and dropped his way off, come around straight to the old man's, and we just moved into our first real house. A real house, wow. Rose gardens, workshops. My dad, old man, was a plasterer by trade. He'd done all the cornices, architraves and whatnot. Well, getting back to my great-grandfather there, old Bob Jones, yeah, we call them gin jockeys back in days, and still do to these days. You go to the pubs, you know, you see white men trying to pick up the Aboriginal women. We call them gin jockeys. I hope I'm not... well, if I come along and I'm not politically correct, my day isn't made if I haven't offended or made someone make up of themselves, black, white or brindle, young, old, male or female. Old Bob Jones, when Australia became federated, where I live, my mum, now I'm going to come back to Bob Jones in a minute, my mum, she made a break from her mother and father, stepfather. She ended up down Melbourne here. Police was after her, she ended up in the Royal Women's. She had my brother Bill, first time we met him when I was 28 years old. Raised by some beautiful people. You heard of Kylie Bellings in Flying Doctor? Kylie Bellings, the actress way back in old day? She's my brother's stepsister, and we found out she's my relation. And they grew up, the only ones out of the whole family that was adopted out, Billy Bellings. His next door neighbour, I forget his name, but that's getting beside the point. Anyway, Mum made break, got away, ended up down here. Police had got her, welfare had got her, put her in the women's hospital. She had Bill taken straight off to the baby factory, adoption factory out the Edinburgh Gardens. There's a red brick building on this side over thing. That's where the salvo is, where they adopted the babies out. She was put in Fairley Women's Prison. Her and an Italian girl, when she was 15 years old, my mother made a break for an escape they did, camped in the exhibition gardens behind the big buildings there. I go and sit under the fig tree where the old folks back in the day got up on the soapbox and talked about equality, justice, fairness, which is the value of Australia today. I was listening to Mr Albo the other day, and Australian values of equality and fair go, and I forget what the other one was, but it had fuck all to do with those black fellas. Old Bob Jones, Australia became federated. This was the first Australian Parliament, National Parliament, the exhibition buildings. Old Bob Jones went on to become Victoria's first police commissioner. Okay. Work that one out. That fucks with my mind just as much as why should we have asked your permission? Can we vote for our spokespeople? That fucks with my head. Hand up all those who had their COVID shots. Why? I haven't. My doctor, with all the conditions, I've got arthritis all throughout the body, ear pain, my heart. This is the only thing that's keeping me going. I've got to be extra polite to policemen who don't know Joeboy Morgan. Otherwise they'll zap me and that's the end of me. I was on the original Smith Street Dreaming Committee for a few years. Now it's been held up in the park up here. The reason why that Smith Street Dreaming Festival, we got an Australian Day award. for that very for event of the local event of the year in Yarra Unit Bank. You know where that certificate went? Straight to the back of the fucking wardrobe. I don't need a 4-year diploma to talk about my life. An Aboriginal child, by the time I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, knew the names of the stars, the seasons, what to eat, what not to eat, how to catch his own fish. Why is it that Aboriginal culture, when people think of Aboriginal, oh, painting, didgeridoo, dancing. What about astronomy? What about engineering, the fish traps, the weavings, utilising technology, stick, stone, bit of mud, bit of twine. I walk around, see that. When I go camping or I've got a shopping trolley, I put in my sleeping bag, a tarp, bit of string. Give me one of those, plastic bottle, bit of string and a tarp. I can walk out from here with what I got on and live a month of Sundays. I've lived down here 42, 43 years. We started learning that before we was taken out, put in the homes. And on holidays when we did go home and eventually got home here and there, we was out the bush. My kids, my grandkids, feel my great-grandkids. I can take them out the bush and leave them there for a week. One of my rites of passage, the old folks would go around in the ute and cars, round up all the black kids that's wandering around, take them way out the fucking bush. They took us out to a place called Lake Ben and we had to stay out there all week with nothing but what we had on. If any one of us had left and went back into town, get a good flogging and we all had to stay out a bit longer. I was in the Cubs. Me, Yuli and my cousin Ricky, 2 cousins, only Aboriginals. We didn't last here long. Breeding ground. The old Cubs and Scouts, you sit around in a circle and you go, dib, 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 dob, dob, dob. A lot of them Boy Scouts went on to become fucking coppers. And they expect us to do the same, get fucked. Oh, sorry, little ones. Sorry, Dad. Sorry, man. This is how much we're getting rid out of history. I sit along Smith Street there, do my business, chuck my coins in for a coffee, my feed, get some milk, send off to the kids, hey Dad, hey Pop, you got $20, you got $50. Not 20 cents or 50 cents these days, like not when we was kids. $20, $50, $100. I'll be pumped. Hang on, give it a recall back. I'll get my guitar, go and thing, tear a plonk box out of thing. Noble fellows. Chuck down with whatever thing I've got down and sing my stale Americana country songs. Hank Williams, Willie Nelson, the Carter family. Grew up on the Carter family. You Are My Sunshine. Wild Side of Life that evolved from a lot of songs going back to the 1920s, 1930s. Country music, you know how that come about? Just a bit of nothing related to what I'm talking about. The banjo descended from an African instrument called the bongo. Anyway, the folks, the Afro-Americans, poor bastards back in the day, combined with Irish, the violin and the banjo, and we got country music. Wow. There isn't a lot of famous heavy metal bands, punk bands, rock bands, soft rock bands, you name the genre. The people before they become famous had done cover versions of Hank Williams and the Carter Family. All comes from country. Everything comes from country. Anyway, before I come this, I'm always gathering, you know, especially if it's got words, and I'm just going to put that aside there and grab something. Protect, protest, defend, dissent. Friday, April 12th, it's got climate breakdown, endless war, the system is broken, rise up before it kills us all. Where's my black pen? I like to add little things and whatnot. Yeah, but what about the black fellas here in Australia? What can anyone tell us about black fellas in Australia besides what you've heard of, you know, people ask me they took the children away. I known Archie before he ever became famous. I knew him when he was a drunk, him and Auntie Ruby. My mum worked at Winjalupna, the Women's Dry Out Centre, when Ruby put herself in there and Uncle Archie put himself and dried out. I cannot sing that song. That song's not aimed at me. It's aimed at all you folks telling the story. How many times do you got to hear a story repeated before it sinks in? Where's the justice? Why am I sitting up here explaining, talking about a little bit of my misery and happiness and whatnot? I'd like someone to get up here and explain why you and your mob keeping me and my people down. Gee, that's an idea. I might put in some funny local Yarra City Council, invite someone to get up and talk about why you're keeping us down. Okay, here's something, and it might sound a bit far-fetched. Everyone heard of Robbie Thorpe? Wow, he has not changed from his outset since he was a young lad. His passion for justice, with a capital J. And another deadly friend, Viv Marlowe. She should have been around in the 80s. Big things had happened in the 80s. I led one of the biggest marches. It was United Nations International Year of the Child. John Cain was Premier. I led the march from the corner of Burke Street and Swanson Street up to the steps of Parliament House, and because it was United Nations International Year of the Child, the kids spread out on the steps, and because the crowd was so big, it was one of the biggest. The kids kept going up and up and up, and the line of policemen had to keep going back and back until they couldn't go back no more. Then they started pushing the kids down. They was tumbling over. I carried one of my kids, Shannon, on my shoulders with the loud hailer. Two other daughters there walking beside me, and I'm walking up leading this march. So I got to the top of the hill, turned around, and I nearly pissed myself when I looked at that crowd. Wow. The overwhelming feeling that I got in my guts and my thing, it was so overwhelming. I shook. I went weak in the knees. Big Kutcha Edwards, everyone heard of Kutcha? He's my blood. Close blood. Cousins, family, come from a big family. You heard of blah, blah, blah. If there was a bit more of a black audience, they know who I'm related to directly. Double barrel, there isn't a mob that I'm not related to through blood or marriage or both. Yeah. I turned, Kutcha setting up the microphone and that. Wayne thought what Balimba was there. I turned and handed the megaphone to Gary Foley. As I've turned, the kids was tumbling down. Myself, another top matey, Bo Barney, another fellow died, Sam Sibley, rest his soul, flew over and into the police, and it was all over the news and everything. John Kane never come down because there was some things that was coming out on that day. I walk through the beauty. I've been offered jobs, very high profile, authoritative jobs. I was Aboriginal Education Consultative Group for New South Wales. My area covered Riverine too, New South, Deniliquin, up. Anyway, the boss was Miss Linda Burney. Everyone heard of Miss Linda. Many years ago, she married a cousin of mine, an elder code, Bob Morgan. He was one of the lads who, with a few others from up the way, got the NRL Black Knockout competition going. Can you tell me why before I die why do the children cry? Why do you have to lie? Can anyone tell me why? Oh, why? I bought this guitar. Luck is not in my vocabulary. Serendipity is my most favourite word in the English language. If you don't know what, look, there's a dictionary on the shelf there, or just Google it. I read a book there, The Prince of Serendip, and it was a made-up word. It was a made-up word, but I just loved the way it rolled off the tongue, like, and I, wow, and I looked it up in the dictionary there, and oh yeah, the knack of good fortunes. Of good happenings occurring when least expected. I love serendipity, always has. I come across a TV show called Serendipity Jones. Serendipity. Anyway, getting back to Robbie and Viv Malay, a couple of decades too late. If she was around the 80s, I don't think Aboriginal Victoria would be in the situation that we are today. That's gospel. When I say gospel, truth. We done and calculated. I said to the missus there one night there, Jennifer, and we lived up here on the 17th floor back in the day. I've been busking on and off on the streets for about 25 years. Stuff this, Jennifer, I'm sick of playing in the park and in the backyards or whatever. I'm going to chuck down and do some busking. I did, and I made $53.15 in 1 hour. Wow, I thought when I got home, look what I made. And we counted it all out there and, yeah, took it to the bank, cashed it in the next day. So I made the habit of going hitting Smith Street, sometimes Gertrude Street, haven't done the city for a while, sometimes Brown Street, so I haven't done that for a while. And I'd work to this formula 2-3 days and have 2 or 3 days off and then skip a couple of days and then go back and do it again. An hour before lunchtime to an hour after lunchtime. Take a break and come back when everyone's knocking off, getting off the trams at the tram stop. On top of my disability, I was making $1,200 to $1,500 a fortnight, just at Safeways alone. Okay? Work into that formula and extrapolate it out to 10 years. Of all the money that I'd kept and made, you know how much I made on the streets of Melbourne? They crunched the numbers that night and worked it out and whatnot. And I'd average anywhere, nothing less than $50, anywhere up to $100, $150, $200. Over 10 years. And I gave it all away, pissed it to the wind, smoked it to the wind, handed it out because of my obligations and responsibilities to my mob. If they rang up and asked Pop that thing, yeah, no worries, I'm able to do it. 475 fucking $1,000. $475,000. And that's without being picked up by a hire car to do a do down Geelong or a few pub doos or club doos here and there over the years. And could paid good money for it. If I had an ABM, well, I could have named my own price. $475,000. What would I have done with it? Go and buy my land back? Get fucked. Why should I buy stolen property? I walk through the whispering forest. Not a sound did I hear. A teeming farmer pleading that without a sign of thee, I knew that I was walking where many men have tried.
Uncle Joeboy, I'm going to put up my hand and ask a question.
You may.
We're almost at 7:30 and
Okay, I've got to wind up.
I love the poetry more than anything, and the ability you have just to even write something or say something on the
I haven't
spot.
written anything. I make it up as I go along with my songs and my poetry.
So I want everyone to hear one before we get to. We've got to let them ask some questions as well. So give us one of your poems.
I come here tonight to make myself clear. And I hope I don't endear myself to folks who think otherwise. I'm a walking contradiction, partly truth and partly fiction. I stole that from a famous songwriter, Chris Christopherson, if anyone's ever heard of me and Bobby McGee. I wish I wrote that song, but it wouldn't have taken as long. I bought this guitar. It was given to me by a very good friend who's on the program. He's non-Aboriginal, but by gee, he can play a guitar. I'm not a name dropper, but his older sister's Vanessa Amorosi. He said, I got this guitar, and I keep the prices, I think. This only cost $39. No strings, no pegs. I had a set of pegs. I went and bought a set of strings. It paid for itself in less than half an hour. And some. This guitar cost that much. Within the hour it already paid for itself. And I made 3 times as much. And all I did was sing my stale Western country music songs. So that didn't take long. The first time I've ever had an adult conviction was belting a police and smashed up the station. 3 months sentenced, a month and a half served. I got up in the stand and told them. 8 policemen going witnesses, only 3 had turned up. And I said, Your Honour, this is not right. Can I have my say? Did you know that you're a dead person? That's why you cannot speak for yourself or defend yourself? Because the law wants it to be that way. If you get up and speak yourself, you get your legal beak and say, can you sit down? I want to speak for myself and tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And I did. And I got less than what I deserved. Because I knew where I was coming from and I meant every word. I'm into guitars, bikes, books and boots and boots. This was a knock together or whoever thing and it holds the tune. Is there a full moon? I know there's an eclipse over in America and it's going to be dark and the government said stock up for 3 days water and food. And at the same time NASA's going to let off 3 missiles, 3 rockets. Oh, something woogie boogie going on there. I'm sorry, I apologise. I know it's not rhyming and that. I don't know if I've got imbibed enough to loosen me up to say what I got to say, and I had to be very careful with what I had to say. Because a lot of what I've got to say is redacted in form, and I'm not talking about stolen generation. I'm talking about political corruption, police corruption. I smoke dope. I've been smoking since I was 13, 14. Come across a big crop on a prominent station owner up around home and that. I've been smoking ever since. That first cone killed the pain. Because of my heart medications, this is how much tablets I drop every day. They don't get the stone, they won't thing, but it's for my specific conditions. One of them, I had to take was a new one, I forget the name of it. It turned my skin blue. And my skin did go blue. Now my body's used to it, and every now and then, under certain lights, you'll see a blue tinge about me. And it also makes my skin ultra sensitive to sunlight. I'm on these for the rest of my life. I partake of marijuana. I've been stoned every single day. I finished off St Joseph's Catholic College Year 10, went through my schooling stone, been smoking every day. I roll up the joints on the street in front of the constabulary. Quite a few years ago, before they developed the corners, I was sitting there with a bong and a thing and chopping up. Policemen pull up right there where that speaker is. What are you doing? You shouldn't be a policeman if you can't see what I'm doing. And they discuss on them because they all heard of me. I'm a big mouth, loud mouth fucking rat bag. I'm the one that they come along the streets. Can you come along to this meeting and have your say? Because I can say and speak and say things where they're not allowed to because they're employed. They've got to sign a contract, you see. Racism, ignorance. Ignorance is the foundation of racism, not innocence. Ignorance. What I can't understand, and I wish there was more of my elders here, and I haven't got too many elders that I do call elders or look up to. Up where I come from, there's only 2 people that are my elders. Once they're gone, who's going to replace them? A lot of the knowledge that blackfellas have got today, especially young folks, are book-learnt knowledge about Aboriginality. I've had a lot of young folks come along, and there was a young folk today who knows what he was affected by. I asked him, who's your mum and dad and the thing. Anyway, and I tell them what their mums and dad hadn't told them, who they are, where they come from, how they came up to this mob or that mob. A lot of the young folks are echo and parroting folks my generation and older, the hardships that they went through as if they lived it. A lot of the young folks these days has only been name called. Sticks and stones might break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Like I said, we are not labels. I'm not Australian. My name is Joeboy. My full name is Joseph Donald Michael Noel Morgan. And I prefer to be called Joeboy. The old man was old Joe, I'm young Joe, not Joe Junior, Joe Boy. It's a bit of a tag, a lot of the folks. Harry Boy, Charlie Boy, Mac Boy, Phil Boy. That's a tag, like son of, son of, son of. I was still a child because if I don't learn something new from someone or meet someone new every day, it's been a hell of a boring day. You've got to keep the mind occupied. I've never smoked a straight cigarette in my life, but I get tobacco to mix in with my mull. And just a chuffer and a bit of a piss pot. No more, no less. I was going to drop my whole name and add the tag, Joe Boy. No more, no less than what you see. I've got nothing to be ashamed of not embarrassed about my past, what I've done, lived through it all, participated, perpetuated a bit of domestic violence in my days. I'm very aggressive verbally and very loud, and I use some choice Anglo-French in making my point. That little thing, if you want to hear, we've had some oogie boogie experiences and everything I look at, look around. The senior. I'm not an NDIS. A lot of things I can do for myself, a couple of things I can't. My doctor wants me to have my COVID shot. Hey, everyone that I've known, one of my granddaughters was with the Victorian cheerleading and dance squad, competed around the world and all over Australia. She's had her first baby. She's had her first baby. She had her COVID shot. Her son-in-law, Ashira, had his COVID shot. My daughters, they all suffered adverse side effects. If you'd let that virus run through the body, it would have been out of your system in 72 hours. I research, I cross-reference. If someone tells me something, I'll go and read about it, or I'll go and ask someone else who's a bit more of an expert about it. One of the leading neuroscientists, neurologists in the world refused to wear a mask from, where was she from? Denmark. Because it stifles you breathing in and breathing out, depriving the brain of fresh oxygen. You deprive a certain part of the brain of fresh oxygen, it kills the end of those nerves in that certain part of hippocampus. And guaranteed it's happening now. There'll be a riot in cognitive illnesses, situations where you find it hard to remember, retain thoughts, etc., etc. Oh, yeah. Why? I still haven't had my COVID shot. And they're going to combine it into a flu shot with other shots. I'm not going to take anything other than what I feed and ingest within my system. Ghosts, spirituality. There's not one Aboriginal people that I don't know that can tell you a Oogie Boogie man story. I'm a senior. I don't get treated like a senior. Oh, you don't look like a senior. You don't look like your dad. Oh. Awake, I always collect them. They're always interesting reading. Good laugh, good laugh. Good laugh. You don't have to be a prophet to see which way the world's heading. When the Christian missionaries and all the black fellas sitting there and he's standing up and he's thinking this is fair income, they sitting there, they interested in the Bible. The supernatural, the magical aspect. Not about the fucking kings and queens and all this and the Jews and the supernatural, the spiritual aspect. Because we were spiritual people. Still are. Still are. It's all spiritual people.
We're nearing 20 to 8, and I know you really wanted to have time at the end for people to be able to come and chat with you. So
This will be stereo. Bye-bye. If ever you want to hear me sing, catch me on at Safeways. To a good cause. Original poetry, original songs, no, they're my own and that. This is required for archival material and I know I've made a fucking hash of it. And with a lot of what I want to thingo, I have to be very careful and take into account of people's sensitivities. Yeah. There's a couple of things. There's a very sacred stick that I gave to a former Crown Sergeant, Peter Beck. The other one, another very famous person's mother's holding it because they are very dangerous. They're called Murray River fighting sticks, and they was made by a fellow named Naki Mitchell, Eric Ernest Mitchell. He's my cousin. He does Mungo Man, Mungo Lady. Muddy, my dad's mob. One of the custodians of Lake Mungo, and everyone's heard of Lake Mungo if they haven't in this day and age. Well, pull your heads out of your asses. That's all I've got to say. People, a very famous judge, I don't know if he's retired, he's just done some recent legal work for some peoples. His wife come past and we're all sitting there one day, and he's very, very socialistic, very... I don't know, well, I reckon he's a Labor voter. His wife come past. She goes by her original name, not her married name. I know, and I'm sure quite a few, and I thought I might have seen her face here before. Walked past, chucked some coins into the thing, and she looked back, that my people sitting stage left of me along the windowsill at Safeway, oh, at least you're doing something, not like those people. And I said, what do you mean by those people? Those are my people. I'm part of those people. Get your fucking money, get it, and get it. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Oh. Yeah, come a few big notes. All the people that are for our thing are, like a lot of my mateys and that, and a lot of my mateys told me when that topic of Aboriginals come up, they told me what their parents said. They rebelled against their fucking parents. There was a few pubs, a pub up here in the corner, it's called Gertrude's, before it become modern day, the way it is. A very good matey whose father and mothers were, they vaudevillians or so in the day. His old man used to write episodes of Adventure Island, Bellbird, all these old Aussie shows and things like that. And this lad, every now and then, he gets a job playing on the cruise ships, the piano in the piano bar. He was teaching at RMIT there, lecturing there, and he'd pull into the squizzies back in the day, it was known. And the public and the patrons there, bagging the blackfellas just across the road there in Fitzroy Park. He comes and tells us all about it. He wrote a stage play. About it. I can pick a racist. Come and sit down, shout me a cup of coffee, and I'll show you what a racist you are. In your ignorance, not in your innocence. I do it every day on the street. I'm the delegated spokesperson for some reason or other, because I speak out loud in a prayer. I cannot stand bullies, I cannot stand injustices of any sorts, whether perpetuated, doesn't matter what colour, breed you are, if you're on the receiving end or you perpetuate or instigate such a situation. One of the pages have been redacted, I wrote a story. And it was after I watched a movie of not Robin Hood, David Niven, a famous British actor. I forget the name of the show, but he was a cat burglar. So I wrote a story, an essay, and it was about this cat burglar who robbed from the rich and gave to the poor blackfellas down the bush. That was used as evidence in court when I was 7 years old, 8 years old. He's a bit of a criminal fucking mastermind. And here's another thing, because I was too straight for my own good and that, I've lost a lot of dear friends, a lot of close people, Aboriginal, non-Aboriginal, because I was too outspoken and to the point in regards to such things, or of anything, or any injustice. I've got some other little goodies. It's time for them. I've got some. This here by a lady, Peter Hudson up Moama. My oldest daughter got a jar here, Dad, made out of beeswax, old man weed, emu oil. I use that on my skin. Sore. I've never used shampoo, conditioners in my hair, just plain ordinary vegetable soap and brush it. I walk down through the neighbourhood here and there. And one time I was picking lily pilly and a couple of other things out of his garden, and a lady come down and goes, "What are you doing?" "I'm having a feed." "Oh, can you eat that?" "Yeah." There's a common grass seed. You walk through the park and you get them a thing. Untwirl them and get the little nuts out of, depending on the season. Get a couple, there's 3 or 4 little seeds, tiny little seeds, and you go, tastes like peas and beans. Get them in another season, they're hard and brown, and it's got a nutty flavour. Different effects. Bit of a narcotic of sorts. No. Be aware. Oh, this Viva la Aboriginal people over in the Middle East. Wasn't it funny, years ago, delegation went and protested the German embassy, sent letters and off and that, and there's a tree planted over near the Supreme Court over in Israel there, acknowledging the fact that Aboriginals went and protested Germany about the treatment of Jews. Now we're thinking about the treatment of Palestinians. Another thing that keeps me awake at night. You know what I mean? I was coming back to this. We are being written out, but there was a little post that's got everything. Climate change, all you eco-fascists, all yous. I don't think so. Be prepared for what's not to come, not what you're expecting to come. Aboriginals have lived through eons and eons and eons and eons, all sorts of climatic changes. We was here before they parked the moon. The Christian Holy Roman, they all acknowledge that we are the Aborigine from the beginning.
Well, while you're up, please join me, everyone, in giving Uncle Joeboy